Hiya, my name's Elizabeth. I'm a medical student and an artist living in London, and in this video I wanted to go through the top 10 things I wish I'd known before starting medical school. Now, these are only my own personal opinion, so please bear with me. But if you're planning on going to medical school, hopefully these will serve useful to you. And if you're already a medical student or a doctor and you've felt the same way, please let me know. I love finding out that I'm not the only person in the world who experiences things a certain way. And yes, those are my two goals here. Hopefully I can get some of it accomplished. Let's get straight into it. The first thing I wish I'd known is that medical school is not as hard as they say. Now, this is a very controversial one because I think that stereotype of the overworked, underslept, struggling to understand medical student is so prevalent and strong, but I did not find that this was necessarily the case for me. I wish I'd known that the things that we need to understand in medicine are actually not that difficult. The last time I struggled to understand something was probably in high school with further maths and advanced physics, but it was definitely never in university. The difficulty only lies in the workload, but even that is not as bad as it seems or as exaggerated as people make it out to be. I wish I could have told myself that you'll be absolutely fine. It is not that terrifying or difficult, and yeah, I think this would have calmed me down a lot. The next thing I wish I'd known is how much free time I would have in medical school. I thought that I was signing off my life for 5 to 6 years and I would be unable to do anything else. This was absolutely not the case. I've been working full-time while I've been in medical school. Alongside it, I've also been involved in so many different projects. When I started first year, I felt a bit guilty with all of my free time, and I wish I would have known beforehand that actually the busiest time of your life is probably not going to be in medical school. The next thing I wish I'd appreciated is how long medical school is. Now, when it comes to this, a lot of people have told me, oh, I could never study something that lasts 5 years or 6 years. And I thought, well, that's not a big deal. And it definitely isn't. And it's not the length of medical school in itself that I want to talk about, but it's rather what doing a single thing for 5 years will do to you. So the way that I would like to describe this is, for example, if we think of ourselves today and we think of ourselves 5 years ago, it's very likely that those two people are extremely different. And this has definitely been the case for me. In my second year of medical school, I found that all the reasons for which I've wanted to do medicine have disappeared or changed, or I fully disagree with them. So I think that if you do anything over 5 years, or even if you do nothing over 5 years, you will definitely change a lot. And you might find that the person that you become does not feel the same way about your university or about your workload or about what they want to do for the rest of their lives. So this was something that I really hadn't considered. I started medicine thinking I would always have the same view on life and the same desires and needs, and that definitely changed. So I think having a bit more of an open mind when I started is something that I wish I'd done. The next thing which ties onto this is that I wish I'd believed people when they told me that it's very unlikely that I'm going to want to do the specialty that I got into medicine wanting. I wanted to be a surgeon for the longest time, and when I started medicine, a lot of people would tell me, oh, you just wait, you're going to change your mind. And to me, that was very offensive because I thought that that meant them saying that I'm not smart enough to be a surgeon, I'm not hardworking enough to be a surgeon, or just because I am a female that I would want to have children and kind of not want to work out of hours or have a career that takes so much time out of my life. And for all of these reasons, I stuck very firmly to it and got offended every time someone would tell me that. Now I wish I could have seen beyond that emotional response into realizing that things change, and the things that you appreciate or like about medicine are also likely to change, and therefore your specialty might also not be the same. Now, having said that, I know that there are people who had, their mind set to be a pediatrician at the age of 3 and still are very happily doing that career at the age of 70. But for the most of us, we change a lot, and the things that we like change a lot, and we might grow particularly attached to a specialty just because we have these amazing consultants that make it seem as though it is the best thing in the world, or we might change our mind again and again, and all of these things are absolutely normal. I think that being not too attached to one specialty when you start medical school is a good idea, because then if you do change your mind, you won't go through an identity crisis like I did, thinking that, oh my god, what do I do now? When I started questioning whether surgery was right for me. By the way, it still remains one of my favorite medical specialties. It's just that I'm not sure that that is the career that I want for the rest of my life. The next thing I wish I'd known, and I think that this is the most important to me, is that the things that people tell you are going to be difficult in medicine are not actually the most difficult thing in medicine. So I thought that seeing a dead body or dissecting a dead body or being in surgery or having to stress over exams or having such a huge workload was going to make medicine very, very challenging for me. The reality was very, very different. I absolutely loved dissection. I got used to the smell of cauterization after my first surgery, and I've never stressed the slightest over exams. That's not to say that medicine has been easy. It was just things that I did not expect to encounter. Things that stayed with me the most and got the most under my skin and kept me up for weeks were certain encounters with patients wherein I felt as though we weren't really making a difference. Seeing patients who are being abused, for example, but who refuse to report that abuse while you treat their asthma is something that has kept me up. Or cases in psychiatry where you do feel a huge sense of helplessness and hopelessness are the things that I find the most challenging about medicine. And I was not prepared for this at all. The next thing I wish I'd known is how expensive medical school can be. And I'm definitely biased here because I live in London, but it's insane. Rent on its own, paying for food. And the thing about London is that hospitals are so scattered. So for example, in the same day, I need to go to one part of London for my lectures, another part of London for training, another part of London to process data for the study, another part of London to work, and then go home, which is obviously not close to any of these. Every day takes a lot of money and time, and on top of that you do need to pay for all of the extra training or all the extra diplomas you want to do. For example, any sort of extra thing you want to do. I had a poster up at a conference last year. Going to that conference and putting it up on its own cost about £400. So I did definitely not appreciate how even wanting to do extra things that would be good for medical school would cost me so much money. And working on the side at minimum wage is a very difficult way to make up for this. So I definitely did not appreciate the financial difficulties that I would be facing at times in medical school. The next thing I wish I'd known is that you still need to do things that you don't want to do. A lot of you may be a lot more mature than I was in high school, but I remember passionately feeling in plant biology, which I hated, that I cannot wait to go to university to study only the thing that I care about, which is the human body, and be done with all these topics that I could not care about less. This is not necessarily the case. There will always be things that you do not find as interesting. In my case, that is microbiology, for example, but also things like studies. I absolutely hate sitting in front of a computer and processing numbers for hours and hours and weeks and weeks. I find it incredibly boring, but this is something that I have to do as a medical student, and I will have to do as a doctor in the future too. So I think being a bit calmer and not as dramatic and lowering my expectations for now I only get to do what I want once I go into medical school would have been a bit more realistic in my case. The next thing that I wasn't ready for was how people were going to treat me once I started saying I'm a medical student. If any of you have experienced this kind of look or the embodiment of the stereotype of, oh, you must be so serious and you must be so hardworking and oh, you must have no free time, you must be so sleep deprived. And I mean, the stereotypes can go both ways. I felt that I was not ready to be thrown in to this medical stereotype so soon. And the next thing I wish I'd known is that medical school, although it's 5 years, is not actually like any other university degree. If you're thinking you're gonna get that university experience, it's probably not going to happen in medicine. And I wish I'd known this. I started out so slow paced thinking, oh, I've got 5 to 6 years ahead of me. I don't need to engage as much in university activities, but at King's, for example, we only have 1 year of preclinical medicine, and after that, you're almost never in university at all. Your projects are for yourself to do on your own. Your learning is almost only with practice in hospital, and you're not feeling that university experience. So if you think that, oh, you're going to get 6 years of what others get for 3 years, that may not necessarily be the case. If I'd known this, I would have definitely appreciated my first year a bit more. And the last thing I wish I'd known is something that would have given me so much hope, and that is just how incredible people are in medicine. So many medical professionals and medical students and people that I get to spend time with are absolutely mind-blowingly inspiring. They're passionate about what I'm passionate in, but a lot of them are hundreds of times better than I am at it, and I find this so inspiring. There's so many opportunities to learn and to feel good when you see people excelling at what they do, and definitely this is something that I am endlessly grateful for. So yes, those were 10 of the many realizations that I've had in medical school. Hopefully, if you're planning to be a medical student, any one of these will help you, or apologies if they do shatter any of your expectations. So yeah, as always, if you made it so far, thank you so much for spending this time with me. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Be kind to yourself and others, and don't believe everything you think. Thanks. Bye.